So I'm going to try and explain how I built an uncoupling system for my TT120 train set, which I think would work also with a bit of an upscale on a HO or 00 scale. So what do you need? Well, I considered using a solenoid, but I rejected that, as many people have, because the motion is quite violent. You know, it's a bang bang uncoupling, and I didn't really like that. So I was attracted to the idea of using a servo motor, and that's what I ended up with. But I did ask ChatGTP how you could limit the swing of a servo motor to just a few degrees so that it would only raise enough to uncouple. And I got to say, after a lot of long conversations with ChatGTP, I came up with the perfect solution. So what do you need? Well, first of all, you need a servo motor. And the one I'm using is this one, the 996R. And you can get these pretty cheap. I've got to say, I've seen them from £7 down to €3.50, depending on where you buy. I bought 4 from Temu. So there you go. That's where I am at the moment. Now, the next thing you need is a control system. Now, I found that you didn't actually need a controller. What you needed was a tester. And in fact, the cheapest tester you can possibly find, which is this one here. I bought this one on Amazon, and I think it was €2.75, though of course I bought 4 of them because I need 4. But anyway, so that's what you got so far. Now the only other thing you need are a couple of small items, which you can look at here. And these are the simple control rods and nipples that are used in model aircraft. So that's all you need to get started, apart from one other thing, which is, or rather 3 other things, which are 3 resistors. Now, this requires a little bit of effort, but we'll show you the resistors later on. So what do you need to do? Right, let's have a look. Now, if we connect the tester to the motor, you can see that you control the swing by the knob. You twist the knob to make the change. But the range is far too big, and you really don't need to be looking at the uncoupler to see how much you need to raise it or lower it. Okay, that's the first problem that we need to solve. So thanks to ChatGTP, we see how to do it. First of all, you take off the knob at the top, have a look around, you'll see it's just stuck together, it's a piece of plastic. You can peel that stiff plastic off, and now you've got just the bare controller. Okay. I keep saying controller, but what of course I mean is it's a tester. So the next thing we've got to do is a little bit tricky. Now this is what you need to do. Now the knob you twist in order to control the motor, the servo motor, is a thing here you can see with the black thing on it, the black knob. You twist that, but you need to remove it from the circuit board. And in order to do that, you need to cut it off using something like a Dremel or something like that. So you need to cut it and remove it from the board. Then you solder 3 wires to each of the connections. Okay, I've used green for the center one, which is what we call the signal, and a red and a black. Okay, this is not easy. The tabs are small. You can see also that I put a blob of hot melt glue there to hold the wires in place so that you don't accidentally break the soldered connections when you're messing about with the thing. Okay, let's carry on. So then you've got the same 3 wires soldered to the potentiometer. So if you made these connections, if you just connected them up, you'd be back to where you began. But what we need to do now is add some resistors in the circuit between the breaks of the red and the black so that we can limit the swing of the controller, or rather the tester. Okay, so here are 2 resistors placed in the circuitry. Forget the wire colors. There was a problem, I ran out of some colored wire, but there you can see exactly what those resistors are. Now, after a lot, and I really do mean a lot of trial and error, I figured out what the values of these resistors should be. One of them is very low and the other one is quite high, and it's the high one on the red line, that tells you how far the swing of the servo motor will be. So I hope that's clear, and let's carry on. So here you can see the tester PCB with the potentiometer removed, and to it I've connected the two resistors that you need. Unfortunately, you can't actually see them because when I soldered them in place, I wrapped them with a piece of shrink wrap and then a piece of shrink wrap on the outer. But they're there. Okay, thanks. Now, if we stayed with the potentiometer, we'd have to twist it up and down, but what I wanted to do was replace it with a switch, and here is the switch that I'm going to use. Okay, it's very simple. You connect the power in or onto the center, and you've got two options on the outers. I guess everybody knows that. Okay, so now I have to point out that because we removed the potentiometer, we have to substitute a 10K resistor in the circuit, because the potentiometer, when it was there, had a 10K resistor, or has a resistor value of 10K. So here is the switch with the wires connected and the 10K resistor connected across the two outer terminals, replacing the resistance that's in the potentiometer. Now, I hope that's clear. Okay, carry on. So here you can see the original model on my test bench on my Class 08, and you can see that it works very nicely. It doesn't woggle the wheels, it doesn't pick it up too far. I've got it perfectly balanced with the values of the resistors that I'm using. So how does it finally look on the board when the train is actually using it? So here we are. Here's my Duchess of Montrose, and it's in shunt mode, creeping slowly forward in order to get to the point where the uncoupler is. Okay. So as you can see, all I need to do is throw a switch, the uncoupler works, drop the uncoupler, and there we are. Result happiness. Now, reverting back to the tester module, okay, you might notice a couple of things. First of all, I'll point out to you that the only light that's on while you're working this thing is this first one, the one that's got a blob of black nail varnish over it, because I have to tell you, these lights are very bright and very disturbing. So I do that. Now, the next thing you've got to look at is that the values of the resistors are, of course, the critical factor. So what do we use? Well, I said one of them is the low one, and that's the bottom one on your screen now, which in fact is colored black, though you can hardly see it. Okay, the black one needs an 8K 8,000 ohm resistor, and the red line, which I'm going to call the positive, that needs a resistor value of, it could be and was originally 24, but currently I'm using 33K ohms, 33,000 ohm resistor in that red line circuit. And for me, that gives the absolute best result. So 3 resistors, the price is so low, you can't even count it. Okay, for anybody who's interested, here's a quick look at my embryonic layout, which is, believe it or not, I mean, this is much distorted, but it's actually 2 meters by 1.5 meters. I've got a reversing loop, and it's my intention to try, maybe later in the year, put a second floor or rather a raised area at the back of it. But I'd be very interested to hear anyone's suggestions about what I could do with this layout, where I could put more points, more shunting area. All my points, by the way, are electrically operated, and because I've got all of these servo motors, which are pretty easy to install once you get the hang of it. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not so interested in building a model village or a model anything. I'm just looking at the mechanics of running the train system. So if you've enjoyed that and you're going to Alexandra Palace, I'm actually going to be there on the Saturday if anyone wants to meet and have a chat about this. Otherwise, I look forward to your comments in both the Facebook group and in YouTube. Okay, thank you very much indeed, and I hope that helps you. Bye.